When I met Clara, she was a single mom with a 4-year-old boy named Leo. On our first date, she was clear. We're a package deal. That didn't scare me. In fact, it made me want to be part of it. In the beginning, everything felt light. Clara and I got along really well, and Leo was just a little boy who needed someone to be there, someone to play ball in the backyard and read bedtime stories at night. I stuck around. I started helping more than I probably should have. I picked him up from school, made his snacks, stayed home with him when Clara went out with her friends. And she was grateful, at least at first. Over time, Leo started calling me Dad. And even though I never asked for that, it hit me deep. I couldn't see any difference between him and a biological child anymore. I got involved in everything, from school meetings to themed birthday parties with dinosaur cakes and handmade goodie bags. When Clara said she was tired, I took over bath time, dinner, bedtime stories. I did it all from the heart, without expecting anything in return. But little by little, I started noticing a pattern that made me uneasy. Clara, who used to thank me for every gesture, began to act as if it were my duty, as if I'd signed some invisible contract stating that my life's purpose was to cover for her absence. She started going out more with her friends, saying she needed to disconnect for a bit. I understood, of course, we all need a break. But that bit kept growing and growing. And every time she went out, I stayed with Leo. She didn't even ask if I could. She just left the keys and said, "You already know his routine. Love you, okay?" At first, that made me feel useful, important. But later, I started to feel used. One night, after I put Leo to bed, I sat on the couch and waited. Clara came home at 2 a.m., smelling like alcohol, laughter still on her lips. When she saw me, she just said, "Oh, you're still awake? Wow, Leo's an angel with you." And she went to bed. Didn't even ask how the night went. These moments started to repeat. Often, our connection seemed to be fading. Conversations turned into to-do lists. Kisses became quick and mechanical. And every time I tried to talk, she dodged. "Babe, we need to talk about us." "Oh, God, are you starting with the drama again? Everything's a problem with you." One time, after family dinner, her parents pulled me aside. They told me how much they admired my dedication. And her mother said a phrase I'll never forget. "You care for Leo as if he were your own. That's rare. Thank you." I was touched, but when Clara heard it, she laughed out loud and said, almost thoughtlessly, "He takes care of him so well. Sometimes he feels more like a luxury babysitter." The room went silent. I laughed awkwardly, pretending it didn't hurt. But it did. A lot. That wasn't a joke. It was the first time I clearly saw how she saw me. The babysitter, not the partner. Not the man who chose to love someone else's child with everything he had, but the life facilitator, the extra hand, the emotional convenience. That night, I lay down with Leo because he asked me to, wrapped in his dinosaur blanket. He hugged me and said, "You're my hero. One day I'm going to be just like you." I held back the tears. Right there in the dark, I realized my love was real, but it was being wasted on someone who didn't know how to see it. I spent weeks trying to save the relationship. I suggested dinners, talks, trips, but Clara was always busy, distant, or irritated. I started to notice that, over time, she had stopped looking at me the way she used to. And then came the breaking point. One Saturday afternoon, she came home while Leo and I were building a toy car track. Without even taking off her purse, she said, "Hey, I'm going out with Carol today, okay? You stay with him again." "Again, Clara?" I asked, trying to stay calm. "I made plans to help my brother move. I told you." She sighed. "Oh, seriously? You're not going to make a big deal out of this now, are you? You're here. He adores you. It's not like it's a sacrifice." "It's not a sacrifice. It's a choice. But I have a life too, Clara. Am I the dad or the guy on call?" That's when she snapped back with a line that broke me. "For God's sake, you're not his father. You're acting like it, but at the end of the day, you're just the babysitter I trust." I went quiet. Leo, confused, looked at me with those wide, innocent eyes. I swallowed all the things I wanted to scream. And in that moment, I realized the problem wasn't being the best for Leo. The problem was being with someone who never valued that. Deep down, Clara didn't want a partner. She wanted a functional substitute for the times when motherhood felt too heavy. And I deserve more. Leo deserved someone who was there out of genuine love, not convenience. That night, after she left, I put Leo to bed. He held my hand and whispered, "Are you going to leave too?" Like my dad. My heart shattered into 1,000 pieces. No, buddy, I'll never leave your heart. Even if I don't live here anymore, I'll still be your hero, okay? He nodded, tears in his eyes, and fell asleep. While he dreamed, I made my decision. It wasn't fair to keep putting out emotional fires while Clara carried on without looking back. I had to go, but not really. Not from Leo. Never from him. I just had to step out of the shadow of someone who saw me as replaceable and find my own worth again. The next morning, before Clara woke up, I made breakfast. I made smiley-face pancakes, just the way Leo loved. I sat next to him at the table, watching as he drew on his plate with chocolate syrup, and for a moment, I wished everything could be different. That Clara would walk to the kitchen door and say she understood, that she saw me, that she'd say she was sorry. But she didn't come down. She slept like someone who carried no guilt. After taking Leo to the park and leaving with his grandmother, I came back home and started packing my things. There wasn't much. Most of my clothes shared space with his. Our socks were mixed up, our sneakers side by side, and on the shelf, there were more children's books than adult ones. It was a reflection of the life I had chosen to live, even if it wasn't truly mine. When Clara woke up close to noon, she found my bags in the hallway. She yawned, looked at me, and said, "Going on a trip?" It took me a few seconds to respond. I wanted her to feel the weight of question, to understand this wasn't just a trip. "I'm leaving, Clara." She laughed, like it was just another one of my dramas. "Come on, don't exaggerate. Is this because I went out last night?" "No, it's because you stopped seeing me. And worse, you started using me. Like I was some emotional service provider. I'm not just a babysitter, Clara. I loved you. And even more than that, I love Leo. But this became a one-way street." She went silent. Her face flickered between surprise and wounded pride. She crossed her arms. "Then go. But don't play the martyr later. You volunteered for all of this. I never forced you to do anything. No, you just got used to it and stopped appreciating it. That's the difference." She didn't reply. She went into the bedroom and slammed the door. Part of me still hoped she'd come out and say something. Anything that showed regret. But silence was the final answer. I left the apartment carrying 2 suitcases and a shattered heart. In the days that followed, the absence was heavy. For me, for Leo, maybe even for Clara, though she never admitted it. On the first weekend, I got a message from the landline at the house. It was Leo. "Hi, are you coming over today? I drew a picture of you." I pressed the phone to my chest and cried like I hadn't in a long time. I called back and asked to speak to him. His grandmother put on speaker. "Champ, I miss you. A lot. I miss you too. Mommy said you went on a trip. Are you coming back?" I swallowed hard. I couldn't lie. "I'm not going to live there with you guys anymore, Leo. But if you want, I'll come see you all the time. We can play, go to the park, eat ice cream, just like before. Even if you're not my dad, I'll always be something very important to you. And you to me. Okay then, just don't take too long, okay? I promise." That night, I printed the drawing he sent me. A little figure with a red cape and a heart on his chest. At the top, written in crooked letters, "My hero." I taped it to the wall of my new apartment. With time, Leo and I built a new routine. On Saturdays, he'd spend the day with me. We'd go to the movies, do cardboard crafts, build puzzles. Clara didn't make it easier or harder. She just let it happen. She seemed indifferent, but I no longer expected anything from her. The hurt slowly turned into learning. I started to understand that not all love is returned with the same intensity. And sometimes you have to leave so you don't completely lose yourself. Loving someone doesn't mean staying where you're not seen. Leo taught me more than I could teach. The purity of his bond with me was proof that being a father isn't just about blood. It's about presence, devotion, and affection. I could have chosen another path. I could have grown cold, shut down, but I chose to stay present. Not for Clara, for him. Because the love we built together was too real to be erased by one bitter sentence. A year went by. Leo grew a bit, but still had the same contagious laugh. One day, after we came back from an outing, he hugged me and said, "When I grow up, I want to have a kid just like me and be a dad just like you." I stayed quiet, holding back tears. The only thing I managed to say was, "And I'll be there to see you do it." Today, looking back, I don't hold anger toward Clara. Just a soft sadness for what could have been and wasn't, but also an enormous pride for not having abandoned the most important part of that story. I learned that sometimes, to truly love someone, you have to leave the life of the one who doesn't value you. But I also learned that true love, the kind born from care and consistency, doesn't end with separation. It transforms and finds a new path. Leo still calls me his hero, and that means more than any father title or sign paper. It means everything. Time passed. Not much. Just enough for some wounds to stop bleeding, though still sensitive to the touch of memory. I went on with my life, trying to piece together what was left after the separation. The new apartment was small, but cozy. I gave myself permission to redecorate everything my own way. Frames with positive quotes, plants on the windowsill, a desk where I wrote letters to myself. Letters I'd never send, but that reminded me of who I was trying to become. And of course, Leo's drawing, the little figure with a red cape and a big heart on his chest, was still there, right in the center of the wall, like a lighthouse, a reminder of what really mattered. Leo kept visiting me. Every time he came over, I prepared everything with care. His favorite food, toys set aside, new movies. We had a ritual, starting the day with a superhero check-in. Each of us would say what superpower we wanted to have that day. One time, he looked at me with a mischievous smile and said, "Today I want the power to make you live with us again." I smiled, but my heart sank. I knew that to him. It all seemed so simple. But it wasn't. Champ, I know you miss it. I do too. But we can't always go back. Sometimes we have to build a new place, even if it's different, so we can stay together. He lowered his eyes, thoughtful, then hugged me. "Okay, but I'm not letting you leave my life." And in that moment, I knew it didn't matter what our relationship was called. Father, stepdad, friend, I was something essential to him, and he was to me, and that was enough. One Sunday, while we were having ice cream in the park, he told me that the school was asking every student to bring someone special for a family day presentation. He said he had already chosen. "I'm taking you, because you're my family, even if you live far away." My first reaction was emotional, my chest filled with pride and gratitude. But then I wondered if Claire would allow it. I didn't want to cause conflict, but I also didn't want to disappoint him. "Did you talk to your mom about it?" "She said it's up to you." She got kind of serious, but she didn't say no. I realized something had changed. Maybe Clara was starting to understand the value of my presence in her son's life, or maybe she had just grown tired of resisting it. Either way, that "didn't say no" was already more than I expected. And so, on the day of the presentation, I was there, hair combed, shirt ironed, with butterflies in my stomach, like I hadn't felt since the first time I took him to the doctor on my own. Leo walked in holding my hand. In the auditorium, several kids presented with their parents, grandparents, siblings, and he, with a sparkle in his eyes, pointed at me and said into the microphone, "This is my almost dad." But he does everything like a real dad. He teaches me to be brave, to brush my teeth properly, and to never forget to say thank you. He loves me and I love him. The audience smiled, and I cried, without shame, because in that moment, all the hurt, all of Clara's harsh words, everything just disappeared. What people said about me no longer mattered. What mattered was what he saw in me. After the presentation, Clara approached. She was quieter than usual. For a moment, I thought she might apologize. But what came was different. "Thank you for still coming, even after everything." "I didn't come for you, Clara. I came for him." She nodded, and for a second, I saw in her eyes a spark of recognition, maybe even regret. But I no longer expected reconciliation. We had reached the end of the road. "You're better than I would have been in your place." Maybe, or maybe I just chose not to stop loving the one who truly deserved it. We said goodbye with a respectful nod, and I left with Leo in the back seat, humming superhero songs. Today, our visits still happen. He's growing up too fast, lost his front teeth, talks like a 30-year-old, and is always correcting me when I mess up cartoon character names. But our bond remains intact, stronger than ever. And Clara, even from a distance, seems to have understood. Sometimes she even sends a message to thank me for staying present. We never got back together, not as a couple, not as a traditional family. But we built something new, a bond that survived ego, pride, and frustration. And if someone asks me if I regret raising another man's child as my own, I answer firmly, no, because the love you give, even when it goes unrecognized, transforms. And in the end, those who truly love never lose. Even when they walk away, the love I planted in that boy's heart is still growing. And that no one can take from me.